Welcome Homeless Life Stories.
4,821 people. That's not a number, it's 4,821 souls fighting through the wind and rain of Vancouver, once called Canada's Paradise City. A place of glass towers touching the sky, glittering harbors, and streets so clean they almost feel sterile. But just a few blocks from the financial core, the tent rows along East Hastings tell a different story, one of people forgotten amid prosperity. Despite over CAD 100 million spent annually, homelessness has risen 30% since 2020. Each time the city clears a camp, another rises as if despair itself is searching for a place to rest. Sarah, a 34-year-old single mother, cradles her child in an old tent in downtown Eastside. Every night she whispers the verse her mother taught her. "Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy." Those words echo through the rain and sirens of candlelight flicker in a city gone cold. Today, Homeless Life Stories takes you to Vancouver, where heaven and hell are separated by a single city block. This isn't just a story of poverty, it's one of faith, dignity, and the hope that refuses to die. 1. The unseen crisis in Vancouver's streets. Home to 662,248 residents in 2023, Vancouver shines as a beacon of affluence, yet its streets tell a darker truth. Homelessness here isn't a statistic, it's a human tragedy unfolding daily. In 2023, the official count listed 2,420 people without homes, with 605 living unsheltered in tents or temporary shelters. Unofficial 2024 estimates push that number past 4,094, though no one really knows. The contrast is staggering: luxury condos and booming tech hubs above, makeshift tents below. This is Street Stories Homeless, and we're here to ask, how can a city so wealthy leave thousands without shelter? The answer lies in the tangle of economics, policy, and neglect, but the human cost is undeniable. If these stories move you, like, comment, and subscribe to help us shed light on lives lived in the shadows. Two, downtown Eastside, the heart of the crisis. Within less than half a square mile, downtown Eastside Tees holds the people that Vancouver tries to forget. Over 18,000 residents, hundreds in tents, survive among the worn blocks of Hastings, Maine, and Cordova, where rain mixes with tears and hope bleeds from the walls. Sarah, 34, once worked at a local bakery. After the layoff, she and her little girl moved into a nylon tent on the sidewalk. Each morning she rises before dawn, washes with rainwater, and leaves her child sleeping while she walks to Mount Pleasant Kitchen for a free breakfast. She never complains, only says softly, "I just need a home, even a small one." In 2025, the Hearth program added over 600 shelter beds and teas. But with 4,800 homeless citywide, that's just a drop in a freezing ocean. Old straw buildings, once the final refuge for the poor, now stand gutted or replaced by luxury condos. Amid the harbor fog, Dees is a fragile heart that still beats, because within it are people like Sarah still believing the city might remember them. The lamp of the body is the eye. If your eye is clear, your whole body will be full of light. That light, faint yet steadfast, still flickers in every soul fighting the dark of Vancouver. 3. The social impact of homelessness. Beneath Vancouver's polished calm lies an invisible earthquake, one everyone feels but few face. Officially, 1,300 people were counted homeless in 2024, yet the real number may be double. Many live hidden in cars, parks, or unseen corners, uncounted by any survey. On Commercial Drive, Dreikel, a 58-year-old carpenter, still carries a rusted hammer in his backpack. He once built mansions in West Vancouver. Now he builds shelters from scrap wood. "I'm not afraid of hunger," he says. "I'm afraid of people no longer seeing me as human." City officials have responded, deploying emergency health response teams across T's, cutting street deaths by 15%. But no metric hides the deeper wound. Social isolation is hollowing Vancouver's soul. When wealth and poverty live only blocks apart, indifference becomes the new normal. At a First United Church street prayer, a pastor said, "Whoever loves their brother lives in the light. Whoever hates lives in darkness." In this city of lights, Vancouver needs a different kind of illumination. The kind that comes from compassion, not neon. Because sometimes a single look of understanding is enough to remind someone they still matter. Four, the economic drivers of homelessness. Vancouver's safety net is stretched thin, ready to snap. The city spends over $1 million annually on homeless services. Yet, like a drop in the ocean, that funding evaporates under endless need. 47 shelters with 1,200 beds remain full year-round. Hundreds still sleep outside, even through the damp Pacific winters. In Mount Pleasant, the organization's Second Chance Outreacher serves 800 meals a week. Its coordinator, Joanna Lee, says, "We don't just feed people, we listen." Because hunger isn't always for food. Sometimes it's for a glance, a kind question, a proof you still exist. Hearth Homes has placed hundreds in transitional housing, but it meets only 25% of actual demand. The lines outside every shelter each night are the most honest data the city has. Lila, a 27-year-old barista raised in foster care, once shared a small apartment near Commercial Drive. When her roommate left, the CAD 1,800 rent became impossible. Now she stays in temporary housing, knitting colorful scarves to sell for a few dollars. "I don't want pity," she says. "I just want to prove that even with nothing, I can still make something beautiful." Each stitch, each thread, her way of sewing hope back together with calloused hands. "Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy." That verse echoes nightly in a small chapel of D's. A timeless reminder, compassion never goes out of style, because only when empathy becomes policy can outstretched hands finally be held. From those torn threads in the safety net, we glimpse something deeper. A city struggling to hold on to its humanity. Next, hotspots beyond downtown East Side, where the crisis expands far beyond the old neighborhoods, reaching across all of Vancouver. Five, a struggling social safety net. Behind Vancouver's elegant skyline lies a painful paradox. One of the world's most expensive cities is also where thousands can't afford a single room for the night. The average home price now exceeds $2.8 million. Even a one-bedroom apartment costs over $200,000 a month. Impossible for anyone earning minimum wage at CAD 15 hour. For the young, home ownership is a fading dream. Youth unemployment has hit 14.4%, while rents have surged nearly 20% in just 3 years. Lila, 24, once an art student at UBC, now lives in an old car parked near Stanley Park. Each night she lights a candle and paints the faces of those around her, saying, "It's the only way I remember I still exist." The loss of SRO's single-room occupancy units, once the final safety net, has forced hundreds out of downtown. Old SRO buildings are bought, flipped, and reborn as luxury condos, while the waiting list for social housing stretches for thousands of names. The British Columbia government pledged CAD 80 million, 2024 to 2025, for the Hearth program, aiming to expand shelters and transitional housing. But as land and construction costs soar, every new unit built seems to push 10 more people beyond affordability. The economy thrives, towers rise, but at a cost. A widening gulf between the wealthy and those one paycheck away from losing everything. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. If Vancouver's treasure lies only in glass towers, its heart will grow cold. But if compassion becomes its true currency, perhaps the city can still save its soul. Six, hotspots beyond downtown Eastside. Once people thought homelessness was confined to the downtown Eastside. By 2025, that illusion is gone. Poverty and instability are spreading through West Vancouver, East Vancouver, and even the UBC district neighborhoods once considered safe and untouched. At Ambleside Park, small tents line the grassy edge where families used to walk their dogs. Along Commercial Drive, high-end cafes and condos now share the sidewalk with people sleeping in nylon bags under a pale yellow haze of street light and fog. A local resident says, "Every morning I see new faces. They come, set up tents, get cleared out, and tomorrow new people arrive." It's a cycle that leaves the whole city gasping, caught between compassion and fear. City crews have intensified cleanup efforts, relocating people to temporary shelters. But each clear-out displaces dozens, pushing them farther from help, deeper into isolation. A social work officer reflects. We tidy things up for order's sake, but that order lasts only weeks. When housing is short, every effort feels like putting a bandage on a deep wound. And so, Woodland Park, Fraser Street, and Jericho Beach, once symbols of civility, have become new hotspots. Residents feel torn, empathy mixed with unease, generosity balanced by fear. It's here that Vancouver's compassion is tested every day. Love your neighbor as yourself. That verse is painted on a small church wall, on Commercial Drive, surrounded by graffiti and flyers for aid. It reminds us that where love begins, fear fades. The crisis is no longer about geography. It has reached into the heart of every citizen. And that's why we move forward to number 7. Voices of resilience, where quiet stories shine through the city's darkest hours. Seven, voices of resilience. On cold Vancouver streets, where winter breath mingles with ocean fog, some still rise each day with the strength the city calls resilience, the courage of those who refuse to give up. At Mount Pleasant Community Kitchen, over 1,500 meals are served each week, not just to fill stomachs, but to warm hearts.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Many who serve were once homeless themselves, like Michael, a 58-year-old carpenter. "When you give, you remember you still have worth," he says while wiping down a table. "I lost everything once, but they helped me stand again." Another small yet shining light is Hope Hub, a job training and reintegration program.
Would you like some food?
Thank you. I'm food.
Oh, you're full? Okay, good. Yeah. You're welcome. Okay, got it?
In 2025 alone, over 200 people were trained and returned to the workforce, cooking, driving, gardening, rebuilding their lives one task at a time. Among them is Lila, 27, who stays at a shelter near Commercial Drive. By day, she helps at Hope Hub. By night, she knits bright scarves to sell. "I'm not afraid of being poor," she says softly. "I'm afraid of losing hope." Each stitch is a quiet prayer woven into the fabric of survival. Though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. The verse decorates the dining room wall at Hope Hub, surrounded by sketches and photos of people who once passed through. It's not just a reminder of strength, it's proof that compassion can rebuild a life. Laughter, shared soup, a hand resting briefly on another, that's how Vancouver keeps its soul alive. And from those small voices of courage, hope begins to return piece by piece. Now we move on to number 8, government efforts and ongoing challenges, where ideals of reform collide with the realities of time and cost. 8. Government efforts and ongoing challenges. If volunteers light the spark of hope, Vancouver's government is trying to build its framework. In 2025, two flagship programs, Housing Vancouver Plan and BC Housing Strategy, remain at the core of that effort with an ambitious goal: 12,000 new homes in the city and 114,000 across British Columbia by 2030. On paper, it sounds inspiring. In practice, construction moves too slowly for the pace of rising costs and population growth. One provincial housing officer admitted, "We're always 5 years behind. For every 1,000 units finished, 3,000 more people fall into homelessness." Federal and provincial authorities have allocated CAD 80 million, 2024 to 2025, to clear encampments safely and expand transitional shelters, a welcome step. Yet many experts call it temporary relief, not real recovery. Within the downtown East Side, advocates praise the Hearth model, a city-community partnership adding 600 beds and integrated health care. But shortages in staff, overlapping jurisdictions, and tight budgets keep progress slow. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of your throne. That verse, quoted by a Gastown priest during a street prayer, reminds us, justice isn't just written in law, it lives in action. When people come before profit, Vancouver is trying. But as with all healing journeys, the hardest challenge isn't funding, its time and will. Let's continue to number 9, pathways to solutions, where the question is no longer can we, but how will we? Nine, pathways to solutions. After years of firefighting, 2025 marks a turning point. Vancouver is sketching a long-term roadmap built on what experts call the 3 pillars of recovery: affordable housing, mental health, and employment. Pillar 1, housing. The city aims to build 20,000 social units by 2030, prioritizing low-income families, seniors, and those exiting addiction programs. Projects like Modular Homes Vancouver prove the concept: fast construction, lower cost, and 87% tenant retention after 1 year. Pillar 2, mental health. Invisible wounds need care too. Vancouver will double its mobile crisis units, investing CAD 100 million to operate 24/7. These outreach teams act as a lifeline for people facing psychological distress on the streets. A nurse explains, "When you truly listen, sometimes you're not treating illness, you're rescuing someone from loneliness." Pillar 3, employment and reintegration. The key to dignity is work. Hope Hub is expanding with local businesses to provide training and direct hiring. In 2025, over 300 formerly homeless residents secured stable jobs, from cooking and gardening to logistics and maintenance. Faith without works is dead. That verse echoed during a Hope Hub meeting, a reminder that faith must walk hand in hand with action. Vancouver knows there will be no miracle ending. 4,821 people won't disappear overnight. But each home, each job, each act of care lays one more brick in rebuilding human dignity. When the city aligns its heart with its policies, hope stops being an idea, it becomes reality. Now let's conclude with number 10, a call to action, where prosperity meets compassion and every citizen has a role to play. A call to action. On Vancouver's rain-washed streets, under the glow of amber lamps, stories of kindness are being rewritten, not by grand policy but by ordinary people. Each morning at Mount Pleasant Soup Kitchen, volunteers serve over 1,500 meals a week. Among them is Michael, the carpenter who once slept in the park. "I'm no great cook," he laughs, "but I know the smell of hunger." Between laughter and steam, kindness proves it still has a home in this expensive city. Beyond food, groups like Hope Hub and Vancouver Street Care offer life skills classes, confidence workshops, and job prep. Over 3,000 people a year receive help, from clean socks to their first interview in years. Each gesture, no matter how small, builds the thread that ties the community together. Love your neighbor as yourself. These words aren't confined to church walls, they live on the sidewalks, where outstretched hands meet not for charity, but for connection. At Commercial Drive, a group of students brings hair dryers, coats, and warm greetings. Have you eaten today? A simple question that once made a man cry. They don't offer much, just recognition and a reminder that he still has a name. Governments can design programs, but the community is the heartbeat that keeps a city alive. Vancouver has shown that when hearts stay warm, darkness cannot conquer the light. This city doesn't need miracles, only our shared belief that everyone deserves a home. And if prayer can become action, let us be the hands that carry it out. May God bless Vancouver, that no one may ever sleep beneath its cold rain again. Amen.
Huge crowd of people.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bye.